All right, hello everyone. Here to show you today the 1988 Saab 900 SPG that's for sale this week on Bring a Trailer. We just pulled the car out of the garage and we will do a cold start test and a little walk around, and then we will do a driving video and pull out somewhere where we can take a look at some of the details. So I'll just pop the hood. Quick look underneath. So you can see here the manifold is still nice and cool. So we'll fire it up and see how she sounds. Classic Saab verbal exhaust sound. Alright, so we'll find a good road here and we'll do a little drive. Alright, so just as we're watching here on the temperature gauge, so we're just waiting for it to get up to temperature and we'll find a good road and see how the car drives. But while we're waiting for that and heading down here, we'll take a quick look around the interior. First thing people usually look for in a Saab is the dash, not surprisingly, this has a cracked dash, as most Saabs do. And one of the first things I did when I got the car was I worked with the local upholstery shop here and had a dash cap installed. Now, the sad story about that is very soon after the dash cap was installed, in fact the first week after the dash cap was installed, it started cracking as well. So if you're looking to buy the car, you will find some cracks in the dash, not as bad as maybe as some Saabs, but it's also, you'll see it is a dash cap, so you'll see kind of a small line there where the cap has been installed. So a bit unfortunate, but the previous owner did a great job finding a lot of nice rare parts for the interior. So for example, we've got the optional leather wrap steering wheel, which is a nice option to have, leather shift boot and shift knob. And then a really rare option is all of these extra Saab branded gauges. So we've got a outside temperature gauge, we've got an oil pressure gauge, and we've got our voltage gauge. And so you can see the volts right now, 13.5, about where you want them to be. Oil pressure sitting just around 35, again, exactly where we want it to be. Outside temperature, 80 degrees, so we are gonna be a hot one here today in Victoria, Canada. Engine temperature now up to speed, so we're getting there, but we're releasing the green. So we'll find a nice road here and we'll see how the turbo spools. Another couple options just to point out. So it's got the, I replaced an aftermarket CD player with the original Saab Clarion radio, and this was again the top spec radio that included the amplifier. So we'll give that a little test here. So we'll fire it on. The antenna is going to be going up in the back now that the radio is on, and you'll see the way the amp works. Basically, you've got different settings. So I think if I remember correctly, there's like this is set for like jazz, folk, and I usually leave it on the rock setting. And you can play with the settings, and you can watch your music down below as well. The cassette deck works great as well. I took all the tapes out of the car. I have a massive tape collection now that I've been building on as I enjoy driving with music in this car, but then you probably saw in the driveway we've got a couple of other old Mercedes which all have their original cassette decks as well. Okay, so let's give this car a have a little fun here, and we'll watch the boost gauge. So we're just sitting at the yellow right now as we plant our foot on the gas. We can get up and the car will hit up to the red level in the boost gauge, typically filling up with 94 octane gas. This is as high as we can get here in Canada, and I definitely recommend the higher the octane, better performance you'll get out of the APC system. A couple things to note. So the cruise control does not work on the car. Never tried to fix it. So I'm not really sure what would be involved in fixing that. Same thing with the seat heaters. I have tried troubleshooting them, but no luck yet. So my guess is probably one of the wires inside the seat itself has broken, so the seat heaters aren't working. You will notice that the front seats have been recovered, reupholstered, and all the new foam and everything, so they're looking beautiful. They are a slightly different shade of tan to the original backseat leather. So, I mean, for me, it's never really bothered me, but I guess if you wanted to, there are backseat leather covers that you can get to match exactly the front seats. But again, the back seats, original condition, still look good, so I didn't bother replacing them. Another note about the interior. So the Saab aficionados, I'm sure, will point out that in 1988, SPGs did not come in black and tan. They came in black and buffalo gray. And that's true, and in fact, when you look at the paint and body codes for this car, it originally did have that buffalo gray interior. And at some point in the past, it was swapped out with tan, which, again, for me, I love it, because I think black and tan is a classic look for the Saab, and I think it looks great on this car. What else to point out? Air conditioning. So again, here in Victoria, Canada, air conditioning is really not something that we need very much of. It's nice just to roll down the windows. So the air conditioning is not working. I've never tried to have it working. Basically, all the components are still there under the hood. Previous owner had removed the air conditioning belt so it doesn't spin. So that I've got that belt that'll come with the car, and I'm sure if someone wanted to, they could get it all, the air conditioning system recharged and working again. We'll do a quick test of the windows here while we're at a light. So you'll see that they work nicely. I have had the door panels off and refreshed and re-greased all of the regulators and make sure that they're working smoothly. So we've got that side, and we'll test the other side as well. Again, you'll see it works pretty smoothly. The sunroof works as well, so we'll test that. This is over here. You'll see it moves a little slower than probably I would like. Never had an issue with it, but probably someone that's driving this car regularly would want to eventually take that apart and again, just probably grease the channels. I did have the sunroof off when we had the car painted last year, and I'm sort of kicking myself. I should have paid more attention and done that task while we had it apart. But again, it's not really a big job to take the sunroof off. It's 30 minutes. You can pop the sunroof off and get access to all the components underneath. What else to show? Buy a pair of glasses from our 2-for-1 selection. I think I pointed out most of the things inside here. I'll turn the radio back off again. So seat heaters aren't working. All of the lights working. So the dash does light up, no problem there. There is basically 2 dash bulbs that light up the dash. And the one on the right side is a little finicky. And the way that you get access to those bulbs is you pop off this speaker cover. It's pretty easy to pop that off. And then you've got to be really nimble, and you've got to get your hand in there, and you can access the bulbs for the dash inside there. So the bulb on this side, occasionally it'll turn off, and I've got to get my hand in there and kind of, the bulb itself is fine, but you kind of got to wiggle it. It goes back on again. Maybe it'll last for a couple months or a couple weeks, and then that bulb will go out again. So again, I don't drive the car very much at night, so it's not really been a big deal for me, but that is maybe one thing to point out. A couple of things maybe just on the cluster as well. So you'll see that this is a high mileage car. So it's 297,000 miles on the odometer. And a couple things with that. So first of all, the engine was replaced at one point, and I'll put all the details of that into the listing. The other thing I've noticed with this odometer and cluster is that it's got things like an ABS warning light. And again, for those of you in the Saab scene, you'll know that ABS was not an option on the car until I believe 1989, and this is a 1988 model. So I'm not sure what the story is with the dash, if that was replaced at the same time they did the engine, or if it was replaced at another time. But I would say 297,000 miles is, I wouldn't trust that that's the actual mileage, but to be honest, I don't know what the mileage is. All I know is how well the car drives, and kind of components as they failed have been replaced. The other thing we'll point out is just thinking about model years. So that 88 is, for a lot of people, and that's what I was kind of convinced of, it's kind of the sweet spot of model years. So no ABS, so pretty standard brakes. It still has the parking brakes on the rear, so that's kind of a nice thing to have. Automatic seatbelts. Now again, I'm not sure whether automatic seatbelts were standard in 1988 or not, but this car, at some point at least, if it did have them, they've been removed, so you've got standard seatbelts. Again, much nicer than those finicky automatic seatbelts. So no ABS. And of course, the other thing with the 88 is that it does have a water-cooled turbo, so you're not having to necessarily let the turbo cool down too much after giving it a good drive. It does have water cooling as well, so a little bit longer life, I would say, on the turbo. In terms of performance, the car is awesome to drive, lots of fun. I keep getting cars in front of me here, but yeah, handles great. No real issues mechanically to speak of that I can think of. Turbo spools up nice, does pull really well. Maybe one thing I'll point out is just the transmission. So the transmission is, again, generally no issues that I can speak of, with one exception being downshifting into second. So downshifting into second is an issue on this car, always has been for me, but either just something I've gotten used to, and basically I think it's the synchro mesh on that gear has failed. That being said, no issues going into reverse. Never pops out of gear, nothing like that. So again, those are kind of some typical things that are flawed other Saabs, but this one that seems to be fine. So again, yeah, downshifting to second, I would say something you get used to, but yeah, not great, obviously. Aside from that, I'm sure there's other things, and I'll be active in the chat this week answering any questions that you've got, so feel free to ask away. I'll pull over here somewhere and we'll do a quick walk around on the outside, and we'll go from there. Thanks a lot. All right, just pulled over to do a little walk around on the outside of the Saab. I left the engine running here so you could again check out that nice exhaust sound that these Saabs have. And we'll just take a look at some of the body here. So the car was repainted last summer, repainted in black, and the black is the original color of the car. We can see in the paint codes that it was originally a black car with gray interior. Now, one of the again unique quirks of 1988 is that black was apparently only done on 400 Saab SPGs that year. So. Again, maybe a rare option. So the fans in the front just kicked on, you'll hear. So again, getting a bit hotter, which is good. A couple things to point out. So I do have the original SPG wheels, and again, for those of you in the know, these are actually 16-inch wheels off a 9000. So I don't know. For me, they make the car look great, matching kind of the same gray tone on the wheel with the body kit. Body itself is in good condition, so there was typical rust issues on the fenders, and that was the main reason for the repaint last summer. So I had new metal fenders welded on, and at the time they took care of any kind of rust issues that we had. There wasn't really any other spots that I can think of where we did have rust. All the doors were checked at the time. There was a little bit of damage on one side, and that was fixed at the time. When you look at the doors themselves, so again, as I mentioned in the video earlier, I've had all the door panels off and redone all the regulators. And while I was doing that, checked out the inside of the doors. Surface rust, but no real issues. That was all treated at the time and then kind of coated there. But there is little spots of surface rust that are kind of evident in areas like that, but nothing that I would say is really that concerning. I'll take a look at the driver's side as well. Same thing down here. You can see little bits of surface rust, but again, for me, nothing. As a driver's car, nothing I was really too concerned with. Let's take a look at the driver's door as well. Maybe even a little better shape on this side. Coming down the door, so you got little spots. But aside from that, pretty good. Yep. So that's the 1988 Saab 900 SPG. Happy bidding.